Okay, so from here, made our way up to standing from the floor. Just going to walk our feet through, padding the feet through. When making a great noise on the mat. Perhaps you've got a softer carpet or a rug. And letting this pressing through the feet, still waking and opening up the sole of the foot. And it's rippling up through the legs into the pelvis and then the rest of the spine. So we're constantly shifting the weight and rearranging the body through the feet, all the way to the top of the head. Great. And then let that settle, spreading the toes on the floor. The feet are soft. We're going to imagine we're placing cushions in the ankles. Little cushions of air in the knees and in the pelvis, so we can allow the spine to unfurl up towards the ceiling. Great. We can relax the face and the jaw and the back of the neck as well. So let's just lift the toes off the floor, so just the toes, and let them relax on the floor. And then gently lifting the heels. Don't have to go too far. Keep it quite small, like a centimetre or two. Let the heels rest back on the floor. And again, just the toes. Let them rest on the floor. Then just the heels. And then let them rest and root. And then the toes. And then once more the heels, allowing air in all the joints, cushions, the heels back down. Lovely. Then just for the brain and body to connect, how is it to just lift the big toes off the floor? Don't worry if you can't do it, it's good to just even think about it. And then place the big toes down. And then keep the big toes down and lift all of the toes up, apart from the big toe. Great, let's try that again. So just the big toe and all the other toes stay on the floor. Place the big toe down, keep the big toe down and all the other toes off the floor. Lovely, and then relax the toes. And then how is it to keep the big toes down, lift all the other toes up, and then put the little toes back down. So the three ones in the middle are off the floor. Don't worry at all if you can't do it, it's just brilliant to try and get your brain going and see if it'll send some signals down that way. And release the toes on the floor and release the knees and the pelvis. Lovely. So shifting our weight to one foot, we'll do our usual routine. So rolling round the balls of the feet. Perhaps one area feels a bit clunky. I've got a bit of a lovely gristly spot underneath. So I'm just going to work in that area to keep easing it out. And change direction. So since we've worked the feet a lot already, they should be quite awake. Great. And then gently placing the foot, so we're just gently tucking the toes under or lifting the heel up if that's too much. And then stepping back, opening the back of the leg from the ankle all the way up into the pelvis at the back. And again, gently pressing the toes under because we just want to open this space up here. That's great. And then stepping that back, open the back of the leg from the heel all the way up to the pelvis. It's what we did earlier when we were in all fours. Lovely. And then padding the feet through the floor again. Great. And then we'll shift the weight. So I've worked my right foot. I'm going to put my weight into my right foot and roll my left foot in circles. So today my left foot feels smoother than my right. So just noticing what they feel like. And change direction if you haven't already. Getting into the bit where the toes attach or the back of the ball of the foot. And then again, either lifting the heel off the floor or gently tucking the toes under with a small press to open the front of the ankle. Lovely. And then stepping back, just opening the back of the leg from the little toe all the way into the pelvis at the back. And again, gently tucking the toes under and pressing into the ankle at the front. And stepping that back, opening all the way up the back of the leg, just like we did in all fours earlier. Great. And padding that in. So then rest the feet in the floor. Great. Then you can place your feet together if that's comfortable, or slightly apart but a narrower base. I'm going to bend and soften my knees. If you can, placing your hands on your kneecaps. I'm going to do circles like this through the knees as though we're drawing a circle in front of us. They don't have to be huge circles, but we're oiling the knee joints, the ankle joints and the lower back into the sacrum. Shoulders are easy and head and neck are released. If this is too far for you and uncomfortable, you can stay more upright and keep your hands on your pelvis and do small circles with the knees still. Great. So you can play with how big the circles are or how small and subtle they are. We can change direction. Like the feet, maybe one way is easier than the other. Making sure the shoulders and the head and neck are still released. Great. And then to undo that, we'll soften the knees. The pelvis goes back underneath the spine and uncurls, so the head's the last thing to come up. Then stepping out to a wider base, much wider, but we're still in parallel. And we're going to gently soften the knees. And we'll do our circles with the pelvis. So they can be small circles or larger circles. See how your pelvis feels today. And how this movement, so with our feet spread on the floor, and the cushions in the ankles and the knees and the pelvis, but how this movement of the pelvis can move and the ripple up the spine all the way to the head. And change direction. That's great. I'm sure you're all looking like John Travolta, so that's what we want. Get you ready for Friday night, dancing in your house. Great. So from here, if we just lengthen the legs, how is it if we keep the legs nice and long but the kneecaps are still soft, so we're not gripping onto the knees, they're not locked. Keeping the legs nice and long, how is it to circle the pelvis here? So the feet are still spread, rooting down into the ground. So the feet are rooting down so we can grow upwards like a tree towards the sky. And then again, you can change direction. So the movement of the pelvis ripples through the spine, ripples through to the shoulder girdle, the neck and the head. That's great. And then you can release that. And then gently walking the feet back into a parallel. And we'll just do some rolls of the shoulder. You can really drop your head if that's okay, or you can stay standing and roll the shoulder. But if you want the rib cage to get moving as well, dropping the head forward and rolling the shoulders back. Dropping the head forward, rolling the shoulders back to bring you back up to standing. Let's do that a few more times. So our feet are still spread on the ground, rooting down, nice and grounded. That's great. Having a natural breath. Oh, lovely. Make this one your last one. Come up to the top, leave the shoulders at the top so it looks like you've got no neck, and then gently let them slide down the ribs at the back. Great. So let's just do that once more. So you can drop your head if you wish. Roll the shoulders up and forward to standing, and then gently ease them down the back, melting down the ribs at the back, so the spine can grow upwards. Super. And then just allow the head to turn to the left. Only go as far as is comfortable, not straining the neck anywhere. And then to the right. Only going as far as feels comfortable. Only looking as far as you can. To the left again. And then to the right. Super. And then to the centre, we're going to do chin to chest. So just the chin dropping to the chest. So the back of the neck can stay nice and open and long. Not dropping in with the shoulders. We're going to keep the shoulders nice and wide on the collarbone. Just allow the chin to the chest. And then with our eyes, we're just going to allow the gaze to take our face to look up towards the ceiling. And the same thing here. Keeping my shoulder girdle pretty quiet. It's not going with the face there. And again, chin to chest. So just the head and the neck are moving. And then with your eyes, with your gaze, following your eyes so you can look up towards the ceiling, allowing space in the back of the neck still, so not collapsing in the spine. It's like a cushion underneath your head. And once more, chin to chest. And then using your eyes to allow your face to look up towards the ceiling. Nice space behind your neck and head. And then come back to the centre. Super. So from here, we're just going to do some tapping. I think last week we did brushing for the nerves. So if we have loose hands, like cooked spaghetti, we're going to start at the top of the head. So we're pouring our weight down from the head. Perhaps we've been thinking too much this last week. Tapping all around the skull. You can gently tap the forehead and around the eyes, the nose, cheekbones, round the ears, onto the jaw, very gently on the throat. And then back round to the side and the back of the heads, dropping the chin so you can tap the neck. If you can reach, now I've turned my hands into a fist, or you can keep fingertips, as long as the wrist's very loose. So if you can reach like this, on top of the shoulders, or if you hold one elbow and tap the top on the opposite side. Unless you have a friend again at home that wants to do this, gently mind. I know we're in the houses together, but no, we want to gently tap each other, no hitting. And then the other side. And then onto the chest. You can sigh here or yawn or make a Tarzan noise. Breathing out. Oh, that's great. Lovely. And then extending one arm. I'm going to use my fingertips again, tapping down the inside of my arm to the palm, turning the hand out, coming up the outside to the top of the shoulder. Do that a couple of times. Up the back, onto the shoulder, and then again. Let's do that once more. All the way to the back, and then back onto the chest, and extending the other arm, and tapping down to the hand, and back up the other way. Onto the shoulder. Tapping down the inside, turn the hand over, and back up to the shoulder. Once more. Gently onto the sternum and the rib cage, the diaphragm out to the side. And I'm just going to turn around so you can see the next bit. I'm gently leaning forward and resting my arms as high as they can go comfortably. This I can reach, but it jams my shoulder, so I'm going to rest my hands here and tap into the kidney area and the lower ribs at the back. Tapping down, very loose hands and wrists onto the sacrum, either side of the spine, onto the pelvis, onto the glutes and the sides. Right, I'll turn around again. Now we can come back up to standing a bit more, tapping. So now I'm going to open the hand up and I'm going to go down the outside of the legs. So if you can't get to the feet, don't worry. Go down as far as is comfortable. Always soften in the knees and spread the feet. So only go down as far as is comfortable. Down the outside and up the inside. Do that twice more. Release the head and the neck all the way to where you can reach. Once more, soften the knees and the pelvis. That's great. And then patting the tummy and then turning that into circles. So I'm going from the right hip up, across to the left ribs and then down. Across the bottom, right hip, left and down. To the right and up. This is the way your digestive system works. So if you're just about to have lunch, it's going to really soothe your digestive system before receiving any food. And if you've just eaten, it'll help you digest. And then resting the hands just below the belly button. And you can close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. Resting the weight through the feet. Releasing the arms so the elbows are not held. Head and neck's released. And you can just stay here for a moment. Seeing how you feel. So you can stay standing there with your eyes closed if they're closed already. Just like to read from Vanda Scaravelli's Awakening the Spine. Really good book. But there's this part about the foot that I'd like to read. Here we are. So this is the foot in the Chinese tradition. And it says, "The true man of ancient times slept without dreaming and woke without care. He ate without savouring and his breath came from deep inside. The true man breathes with his heels. The mass of men breathe with their throats. Crushed and bound down, they gasp their words as though they were retching. Deep in their passions and their desires, they are shallow in the workings of heaven." Quite a strong paragraph, but I quite like the fact that talks about breathing through the heels, breathing through the feet. And there's other things in Chinese traditions that actually it's sages that breathe through their soles of their feet as well. So we can tread lightly and well rooted in the earth.